Okay, so this was giving a little bit of trouble here in the beginning, but the connection between here and here, we should have continuity, which means if you take your multimeter and touch here, you should get a reading that they mean. You'll get a noise something similar to this if you have one potentiometer, or excuse me, a meter that will tell you like this. Let's see, this one, the middle one's working. Get a little noise. Well, I was getting intermittent signals from this on occasion, but that's the same thing we're getting in a car. We'd have intermittent working heating and air. So in any case, what we're going to do is I'm going to jump a wire between here and here, and just for the heck of it, I'm going to jump all three. So it's going to have redundancy in here, but that's not going to hurt anything. Anyway, once I get done with that, as a matter of fact, you can watch me do it here. Okay, so I'm using 3 wires here. Actually, what I used came from some Cat 5 wire that I had sitting around, and this is just going to be enough. I think it's about 24 gauge or something like that. So it's nice and thin. I cut them about 2.5 inches long, and now we're going to go ahead and solder it in. I'm going to fire up my old soldering gun, and we'll get her going. Okay, the soldering equipment I'm using is it's called a Highlander 936, which if you can get your hands on one of these and you do any soldering at all, you're going to just absolutely love this. This particular one you can put different tips on. Now you're going to need a tip maybe about that small. So if you can get a hold of one, great. You don't need to get something this big. I mean, you can get go to Radio Shack, but it has to be a real sharp point on that. Okay, that's going to be important. Get yourself some solder too for electronics. But here we're just going to remelt this solder on here and just kind of like put it in there. And I'll show you in a second. It's important to make sure you clean your tip. See how nice and clean that is. All right. All right, if I get in your way, I don't mean to, but just trying to get this thing done. And obviously, color doesn't make any damn difference at all. Just what are you putting up there? I think it's also important not to have too much wire. You don't want these wires touching each other. And you can have that short and have the same problem over again. So I'm going to tweak these a little bit. So I'm only have about a 3/16 of an inch of wire hanging out there. Now, if you guys can't do it yourself, and if it's this problem, maybe we can arrange something. You send it here, or you can find another guy. He'll do it for 100, 150. I'll do it for half of that, provided it's this problem. You pay the freight. All right, let's get the first one in here. Tack it in there, and then I'll finish it off in a minute. And melt it in nice. Like I said, I'm going to tack it first, and I'll go in and put another bead up there in a second. Don't use a lot of solder though. That would be bad too. I'm going to make sure they don't touch. All right, top side's done. Let's bend this a little bit. Do the outside one first. Okay, I won't bother with details. Be right back. Okay, it's all wired up. We're gonna put this package back together and put it back in the car. Let's see what happens. All right, I just finished reinstalling it. Of course, there's always something. I did drop one nut down in here, but one of the screws down here, not a big deal. That holds this in place. It's got 5 other ones sitting there. But when you put this in, just make sure you take your time. Put it in everything in the right place, and when you put your face back on, your fascia back on, just make sure your trim. Just make sure you take your time. Don't rush anything. So, time of truth. Everything turns back on, and turn the heater on. Cool. Guess what? It's coming out cool, just the way it's supposed to. We'll wait a few minutes and see what happens. Radio works. Turn it higher now. Let's test that. Comes in nice and warm, just the way it's supposed to. Back down to cool. Fellas, that's what it does, okay? So, wiring, it's not a big deal. Taking this whole thing out. I started this at about 6 o'clock my time. Of course, I spent about an hour trying to investigate this thing. So totally, you could probably get this done within 2 hours or less. So there you go, and it costs you a few strips of wire, a little bit of time at the soldering gun, and you're done. So there's your options. Take it into Toyota. They'll charge you $1,000. Send it out to a repair place, $150. Like I said, I'll do it for maybe $75. But send me an email on that. If that's that problem, like I mentioned earlier. What's the other option? You can go buy another unit. I think it's like $450 somewhere in there. Or maybe you can go to a junkyard and pick up one. Does it work? Don't know. Pay your money, you take your chances. Anyway, there you go. It is absolutely fixed this time. No issues. We'll talk to you later with another tip. See ya. All right, let's rock, baby.